what you were talking about. You know, when you said that you were sort of quite anxious and you were asking for, you know, about all sorts of things. Mm-hmm. I love visiting people in their own homes or when they come into clinic and they're worried or anxious about something, some aspect about their child or about their own sort of health or mental health. And I love spending time with them and then leaving them feeling a lot better than when I started. Mm-hmm. And whether or not it's the reassurance over something very minor or whether or not it's actually getting them through something very, very difficult. And I remember a quote actually from, if I may, from somebody that I visited one time, and she said, she sent us a message some years later, and she said, I was parked at the side of the road in floods of tears. I was on a highway to hell basically, and I just didn't know how things were going to be. And then I talked to Zena, and she saved me from God knows what. I think was her exact words. And I think it's that hell that you think you're going through, particularly with mental health, depression and anxiety, and you feel that you're in this bottomless pit and you can't see a way out of it. And then to be able to sort of, in a way, verbally lead somebody by the hand and saying, it's okay, we'll get through this. And my job is to help you get through it. Be it sort of, actually it's often a multi-pronged approach, medication or, listening visits, talking through, understanding what anxiety and depression is, and actually them coming out the other side. But whether or not it's something major like that, or something like, actually, I'm really worried about this rash or spot on my child's face, and then understanding what it is. Because I explain things, and I think sometimes people, you go to the doctors or you go to other people and you say, what's it? And they go, oh, it's nothing to worry about. But nobody actually really explains what, or weaning and feeding and nutrition. You know, if somebody actually takes time to explain something properly, then we come away with that information and we feel empowered that we genuinely feel okay about it. But it's no good somebody just saying, oh yeah, that's nothing to worry about. Oh, well, you just do this and, feed him this and he'll be okay.
Yeah.
I want to know why.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that about her. Yeah. This is actually, because like I said, I've had really bad anxiety, worse when she was first born. And I do remember feeling that sense of relief every time I went, like, don't worry about it, this is because of this is because of that, she's fine, she's doing really well. Like, every time I saw her, they were like, oh, she's doing really well. And I remember at one point she got a cold or something when she was quite small, and so I weighed her every couple of weeks, and she'd actually lost weight, and I freaked. I was panicking, and I was like panicking in the clinic. I was like, she's losing weight, what's going on? And she just sat me down and she was like, listen, it's fine, it's so normal, and she's doing everything she should be now. She said I would be worried if she was like looking different, or if she like looked thin, but she doesn't. She's like sitting up and everything, she's so fine. And I was like, yeah, you're right. It's so easy when you're a new mum just to jump to the worst conclusion. And I think that everyone, I think it's obviously you need to be cautious. And I feel like I was always, there's something I was quite nervous about with calling, the health visitors were calling 111 or something, because I always felt I was nagging, because I was because I was just like, oh, because I've called 111 quite a few times, and then and they would normally I'd get referred to a doctor, and then I remember norovirus hit us, so Clem had it, and she'd never been sick like that in my life, and I was like, what is going on? And I was so scared, and I called 111. By the next day she was fine, and they reassured me and everything. But I still felt like I was the doctors were kind of like, oh no, you don't need to call for things like this or something like that. And I was like, okay. And then she got strep infection recently, and I wasn't going to call 111 because I was like, oh, because she was walking around and she was like, she felt really warm, but I measured her temperature wrong actually. Everyone get one of those expensive ones you stick in your ear, because trust me, they're worth it. Because I just had ones that you stick on your head, and it wasn't giving her right temperature. Turns out she was she was like 39, almost 40. Wow, and she had a heart rate of 200 and something. Wow. And literally the second the paramedics got there, she just went downhill. And I'm like, thank God that Mike was there, and he was like, no, I think we should this time. And thank God that all went right. And I remember speaking to a health visitor afterwards, and I I felt guilty. I felt like, oh, I've done this somehow. Like, I think the mum guilt is just so, like, it's so hard to get over, because I felt like I had put her in the space of this bacteria somehow. I have done this. What have I done wrong? Because I did this to her. And I think, oh, I don't know, the health visitor again, she was just so helpful. She was like, no. And she was kind of like getting a bit frustrated. I was blinking at her. She was like, don't be silly. Like, of course, it's not your fault. This happens to everyone. And I think that is just so beneficial to have someone who is professional and kind of tell you that and make you feel a lot better about it. And so, yeah.
We've got a question online where someone's asked, I have a 4-year-old and from 12 months I have been struggling with getting her to sleep. This is causing me to become depressed. What should I do?
Gosh, sleep. I should imagine it would. For it to be going on that long. Sleep, we do get very low if we don't get a good night's sleep. And sleep is... It would be a conversation actually to try and find out what pattern she's actually got into and whether or not she's feeding. The thing about sleep, it's much easier to prevent sleep problems than deal with them once they've established. Starting off very, very young, babies need to feed it in the night. So you literally keep the room as dark as possible, pick them up, feed them, but you don't talk to them, you don't cuddle them, you don't, I mean, obviously you cuddle them, but not massively like you do in the day. It's not playtime. It's I'm here to feed you and back you go to sleep. Doing that from a very young age, they recognise that night is night and day is day. Daytime, lots and lots and lots of cuddles and talking and stimulation. But at night, it is literally here to feed you, back you go in the safest place, which is their own cot or Moses basket next to the bed. Once they've established... is it possible to converse with the person online, or was that just an online question and that's it?
They are still online, so I can answer them the question.
It's really about what are you doing in the night, because it's at this age, children are very good at manipulating the situation. So they wake up at night and they want a drink or a bottle or something to eat, or they want cuddles, or they want to come into mum's bed. So what is she actually waking up for is the question I would ask.
Yeah, I think like last night, my daughter sleeps really well. So, but occasionally she does this. I think it's in new places, like when she has been with my parents loads of times, but she hasn't slept there recently. And she slept there, and we were right next to her in a cot that she's not used to. Well, like I said, she's been there before, but she just wasn't sleeping. She woke up a couple of times. And you know, you're just so tired, you just want to give her some milk. Like, oh, just go to sleep. But I know Mike was just like, we shouldn't do this. And I was like, I need to sleep, please go for it. But even then, it didn't work. She woke straight back up again. Yeah. And I can imagine for women that have to go through this all the time, how tiring that must be. And like, it must be so hard, because I need my sleep, otherwise I just can't function. Yeah. And for a child, like, I think it was my cousin actually, her child, he wakes up with like night terrors, he screams or something, or he shouts. And then like his mum runs in, cuddles him and things like that. But it's hard not to, isn't it? Especially if they're distressed. Like, what are you supposed to do? You can't just leave them. No. Baby.
If they're ill, if they're unwell, or as you say, it's a different place and they're waking up needing reassurance, you're not going to ignore them. But it's the difference between going and soothing them and the sort of technique is what we call a stuck record technique. So depending on what age they are, the principle is that you're saying, no, you don't need a drink, it's time to go to bed. No, you don't need a bottle, it's time to go to bed. No, you don't need a cuddle, it's time to go to bed. And you literally, whatever they throw at you, oh, but I need to go and see Daddy. Oh, I need to go and run and see if Teddy's still in his cot. You know, the stuck record is, no, you don't need to do that, it's time to go to sleep. No, you don't need to come and watch television, it's time to go to sleep. So after the first night of this, which will drive you totally mad, but it's very effective, the second night they give it a go, but when they get that same reaction, by the third night you've usually cracked it and they've given up, because there's nothing, the message is there is nothing to wake up for.
Yeah.
But if you're ill, obviously that's a different story. And if you're absolutely freaked out because you're in a different house or something, that's a different story. But they still don't need to be coming and getting into bed with you Now, there is a movement out there, and this is absolutely fine. If the parents having a child in bed with them works for them, that's fine. This is not about saying, you know, exactly what's okay and what's not okay. We know that there are risks with co-sleeping, especially with a young baby, in terms of sort of overheating and, you know, getting too wrapped up in blankets and things. The safest place for a baby to sleep is in their own cot or Moses basket next to you, next to the bed. But for people that want their 3 or 4 year old in bed with them, you know, this isn't a judgment to say that's not okay. But you certainly make a rod for your own back by having young children in bed for you, in bed with you. But, you know, going back to the 4-year-old, 4-year-olds have just absolutely established a good routine of waking up in the night. And they will run circles around getting all sorts of things to spend as much time with you in the night as possible. And that's why it's a nightmare. It's really hard to break that pattern as a 4-year-old. It's much easier to break it when they're 18 months or 12 months. But if you have a 4-year-old, I would go back to the absolute basics. They're old enough that you can prepare them for what you're going to do. Right, tomorrow night or at the weekend or whatever, or in a few nights or a few sleeps, we're going to have you sleeping all night in your own bed. So you warn them and you actually prepare them for it. And when that night comes, we're going to have our bath and our bedtime story. I'm going to read you one story, then it's time for you to go to sleep, or it's time for you to settle down. So you give them plenty of warning, but you absolutely, at that point, have to make that commitment that this child is no longer going to be running around the house, you know, running circles around you. The message is, because try and do this for a 9-year-old, it's impossible, but a 4-year-old, hopefully you've still got command. It's like, no, little Johnny, you know, this is where you're going back to your bed. You know, even if I virtually have to get in bed with you, you are not coming out of your bed. And actually the other thing that is terrible is television. If you've got a television in a child's room, they want to watch this and they want to watch that, and they're stimulated because they've been going to sleep watching television. It's, you know, I have a real problem with televisions in children's. You know,
my partner says that too.
And a lot of people do it, and it does absolutely, and it absolutely will bite them on the bum. It does cause problems when the child's older.
This lady has said, "I'll take her into my bed and feed her." So I think you pretty much covered that, didn't you?
What she's done. And it's absolutely right. There's, like I said, there's no right or wrong in this. But what's happened is that the child has got a big reward for waking up. Because quite honestly, what 4-year-old doesn't want to cuddle into bed with mum and dad or mum? So the reward is, so that's why the pattern is there, because the child has got a reward for waking up at night. And if somebody came and bought me a box of chocolates every night at 3 o'clock, after about 3 nights, I'd be waking at 5 to 3 in anticipation. And then it takes, once those chocolates stop coming, it takes about another 3 or 4 nights for me to work out that they're not coming in to me to settle back and not wake up.
What do you do with twins? In the case of twins, because I've got twins and they have got, you know, now it's becoming a bit more settled, but, you know, from time to time they'll get up and the other one will wake the other one up. And, you know, I've contemplated splitting them up, but I don't know, they've always been together. So what would you do with them?
Yeah, that is a good
If you've got the space to split them up, how would they feel about being split up? Because sometimes they actually
they'll probably hate it.
Yeah, so then that wouldn't work. But the message is, the bottom line is that if one of you, because there comes a time when they can be awake but amuse themselves. And but you know, when you've got siblings, even if they're not twins, you know, don't they wind each other up, and don't they want to, you know, I'm not having you asleep when I'm awake. You know, damn that. So you know, it's going to be really hard. But the rule is that I don't care what you do together, but you are not coming to wake me up. And you know, but actually, it's self-limiting, because if I was the twin being woken up, I would give the other twin short shrift.
She is always.
Yeah, that you're awake, but don't wake me up. So sometimes it's self-limiting, but you know, sometimes it is. They are at 4. They're certainly old enough that you can start setting some rules that they have to sign up to, and that they have to remind themselves that they're not to wake each other up, and that they can wait till morning.
I was just with, like you said, that they can kind of entertain themselves when they wake up. That's what I've done with my daughter Clem. So when they're tiny, I didn't put anything in her bed with her, obviously. And then now she's older, and it's getting colder, I put a duvet in with her. But when she started to get a bit bigger, I'd say like 9 or 10 months, I started to put a few teddies in the corners. And when I would go in the morning, or if I'd like go in and check on her, all the teddies had been moved, where she'd like woken up and like played with the cuddled one. And then in the mornings, actually, it's been a godsend doing that, because I can hear her kind of like squeaking and talking to her teddies, and that kind of slowly wakes me up, and then I can kind of spend 5 minutes waking up, because she's so content sitting in there. I can just hear her going little teddies, and she talks to them, and she like sometimes like trades them out, and then like she's got loads in there now, and she's so happy just sitting in there for a bit. Obviously after a while she starts to get a bit irate, and then I have to go get her. But I have that like blissful 5 minutes of just like thinking about what I need to do today, and then like slowly waking up instead of hearing this like
what a lovely way to wake up.
Yeah, I think she's just been a godsend in that way. She sleeps so well. So yeah, we'll talk more after the break.
Okay, but I was going to say, just going back to the 4-year-old, or we'll be having a break.
We'll have a little break first.
Okay. Yeah, because I think when